The email from HR sat unopened in my inbox, its subject line mocking me. Interview request, Juliana Newton. My hands trembled as I clicked it open, confirming what I already knew. My mother, the woman who had stolen everything from me 5 years ago, was applying for a position at my company. She had no idea I was the CEO. I'm Melina, and this wasn't how I expected my Monday morning to start. 5 years ago, I was just a 23-year-old with big dreams and a small lab in my garage, developing organic skincare products that actually worked. Now I run one of the fastest-growing beauty companies in the country. But the path here wasn't what I'd planned. Melina, your 9 a.m. is waiting. My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom, snapping me from my thoughts. Thanks, Sarah. I'll be right there. I closed the email and straightened my blazer, muscle memory from countless meetings taking over. The conference room was filled with the usual suspects, Blaze, my business advisor, and Ingrid from marketing. But today, their presence felt different. They knew the story, knew what my mother had done. You look like you've seen a ghost, Blaze said, sliding a coffee toward me. Worse. My mother just applied for the Director of Product Development position. Ingrid nearly choked on her latte. Juliana? The same Juliana who... The very same, I cut her off, not needing to hear it again. The memory was fresh enough without the reminder. 5 years ago, I'd been so excited to show my mother my breakthrough. I'd finally cracked the code on a natural preservative system that could revolutionize organic skincare. The formulation was perfect, stable, effective, and completely clean. Mom, look! I'd burst into her office that day, lab notebook in hand. I did it! The preservation system works, and it's all natural. We could change everything with this. She'd seemed genuinely interested, asking questions, taking notes. Honey, this is incredible. Let me help you patent it. I know some people in the industry. I trusted her. Why wouldn't I? She was my mother, my mentor, the woman who'd taught me everything I knew about cosmetic chemistry. 2 weeks later, I received the cease and desist letter. She'd filed the patent under her name, claiming she'd developed the technology independently. Her company, Newton Naturals, was already in production. I had to protect the family business, she'd said when I confronted her. You're young, you'll bounce back. This is business, Melina. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. Those words still burned. So, what are you going to do? Blaze's voice pulled me back to the present. I straightened in my chair, feeling the weight of 5 years of built-up anger and determination. Schedule the interview. Melina, Ingrid's tone was cautionary. No, you don't understand. She has no idea I'm behind Belle Beauty. I've kept my name out of the press, used my married name on all the paperwork. She thinks I'm still formulating in my garage. And you want to what? Surprise her in the interview? Blaze leaned forward, concerned. Something like that. I pulled up her application on my tablet. Look at this. Newton Naturals filed for bankruptcy last year. She's desperate. Karma's a bitch, Ingrid muttered. No, I said, a plan forming in my mind. I'm the bitch. Karma just gave me the opportunity. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Sienna. Mom's applying everywhere. She's desperate. Please don't do anything crazy if she applies to your company. Too late, little sister. Schedule the interview for next week, I told Sarah through the intercom, and make sure all the paperwork lists me only as Monsieur Belle. Let's give my mother the surprise of her life. Are you sure about this? Blaze asked after the others left. Revenge isn't always sweet, Melina. I looked at the family photo still buried in my desk drawer. Mom, Sienna, River, and me, all smiling at my college graduation, before everything fell apart, before she chose business over family. I'm sure, I said, closing the drawer. She taught me that business isn't personal. Time to show her how well I learned that lesson. The interview was set for next Thursday. 7 days to prepare for the confrontation I'd been rehearsing in my head for 5 years. 7 days to plan how I'd look her in the eye and show her exactly what her betrayal had created. My phone buzzed again, another text from Sienna. Mom's crying. She can't pay River's tuition. Please call me. I ignored it. 5 years ago, I'd learned the hard way that family ties were just strings to be pulled. Next Thursday, I'd show my mother exactly who was pulling the strings now. The thought should have made me happy. Instead, it left a bitter taste in my mouth, like the herbal tea she used to make me when I was sick. Some things, it seems, never quite leave you. And that's how Belle Beauty became the fastest-growing organic skincare brand in North America, I concluded, standing before the crowd of business students. Their eager faces reminded me of myself, back when I thought success would come easily. A hand shot up. But how did you start over after losing your original formulations? The question hit close to home. I adjusted my microphone, remembering those first desperate months after my mother's betrayal. I started in a rent-by-the-hour lab space, I said, working nights while holding down a day job at Sephora. The first 6 months were... I paused, choosing my words carefully. Let's just say I became very familiar with instant ramen. The students laughed, but it hadn't been funny then. I remembered counting quarters for bus fare, sleeping on a fold-out couch in my tiny studio apartment, and crying myself to sleep when my credit cards maxed out. After the lecture, Blaze waited for me in the hallway. Nice speech. Though you left out the part where you nearly set your apartment on fire testing preservative systems. Some details are better left unsaid, I smiled, but the memory was vivid. Remember when you found me that night? Hard to forget. You were covered in aloe vera gel and crying over a burnt pot of wax. That night had changed everything. Blaze, then a guest lecturer at the business school, had discovered me experimenting in my apartment after hours. Instead of reporting me, he'd invested in my vision. Your mother's interview is tomorrow, he said as we walked to my car. Are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be. I pulled out my phone, showing him the latest text from Sienna. Mom's getting desperate. She's talking about selling the house. Does that change anything for you? I locked my phone screen. No, she made her choice 5 years ago. Now it's my turn. Back at the office, Ingrid was waiting with the quarterly reports. We're up 200% from last year, she announced. The new serum line is killing it. Take that, Newton Naturals, I muttered, flipping through the glossy pages of sales figures. Speaking of which, Ingrid pulled up an article on her tablet. Your mother's company officially filed for bankruptcy yesterday. It's all over the industry news. I scanned the article, my satisfaction turning to unease as I read about the employees losing their jobs, the vendors left unpaid. This wasn't just about my mother anymore. Did you see this part? Ingrid pointed to a quote. Newton Naturals' downfall began with quality control issues in their preservation system, leading to product recalls. I couldn't help but laugh. She couldn't replicate my formula correctly. All this time she's been trying to make it work without understanding the key components. Karma really is serving it cold, Ingrid said, but her expression was concerned. Are you sure you want to go through with tomorrow? Before I could answer, my office door burst open. River, my younger brother, stood there looking disheveled and desperate. Mel, you have to help, he blurted out. Mom's losing everything. She can't pay my tuition, and I'm about to get kicked out of school. That's not my problem, I said, keeping my voice steady. She made her choices. She did it for us, River shouted. She thought she was protecting the family business, protecting our future. Protecting us? I stood up, anger finally breaking through. She stole my work, River. She took everything I had and left me with nothing. And look at you now, he gestured around my office. You built all this from nothing. You're successful, Mel. Mom's lost everything. Isn't that enough? I turned to the window, looking out at the city skyline I'd worked so hard to view from this height. The interview is tomorrow. If she wants a job so badly, she can face me and ask for one. River's voice was quiet. She doesn't know it's you, does she? No, I said. She doesn't. After River left, I sat alone in my office, staring at the framed copy of my first patent on the wall. This one was mine, earned through countless sleepless nights and sacrifices. No one could take it from me. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Melina, it's Mom. I know you probably won't read this, but I'm sorry. For everything. I was wrong. 5 years too late, I thought, deleting the message. Tomorrow, Juliana Newton would walk into my office, expecting a job interview. Instead, she'd find the daughter she betrayed sitting in the CEO's chair, the daughter who'd built an empire from the ashes of her betrayal. I picked up the interview folder, reviewing her resume one last time. Under references, she'd listed me, her daughter, probably hoping my name might help her case with whoever was hiring. Oh, Mom, I thought, you have no idea how much your daughter's name is going to matter tomorrow. The waiting room camera feed showed my mother sitting nervously, smoothing her skirt every few minutes. She looked older, tired. Her designer clothes had been replaced by an off-the-rack suit that didn't quite fit right. She's here, Ingrid announced, poking her head into my office. Should I send her in? I took a deep breath. Give me 5 minutes. When the door finally opened, my mother walked in with the confident smile she'd always worn to business meetings. It faltered when she saw me. Melina? Her voice cracked. The portfolio she was carrying slipped from her hands, scattering papers across the floor. Hello, Mom. I remained seated, watching as she scrambled to collect her documents. Please, take a seat. She sank into the chair across from my desk, her face ash white. You're the CEO? Yes. I smiled, the same smile she'd given me the day she'd stolen my formula. Welcome to Belle Beauty. I believe you're here for an interview? I didn't know, she whispered. All this time, this was your company? Surprised? I learned from the best how to keep business secrets. The words came out sharper than I'd intended. She flinched. Melina, It's Ms. Bell in this office, I cut her off. Now, shall we proceed with the interview? Your resume says you have extensive experience in product development. Her hands trembled as she tried to organize her papers. Please, can we talk about what? I leaned forward. About how you stole my formulation? About how you left me with nothing? Or about how spectacularly you failed to replicate my preservation system, leading to Newton Natural's bankruptcy? You don't understand, she pleaded. The company was failing. Your father had left us with massive debt. Sienna was in that awful relationship. River was getting into trouble. I thought I could save everyone. By sacrificing me? A knock at the door interrupted us. Blaze entered, his expression grave. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something you both need to see. He placed a tablet on my desk, displaying a news article. The headline made my stomach drop. Newton Natural's bankruptcy. Former CEO accused of fraud. My mother's face crumpled. They're investigating the patent transfer, she said quietly. If they find, I could face criminal charges. Good, I said, but the word felt hollow. Melina. She looked up, tears streaming down her face. I know I don't deserve your help, but please think of Sienna and River. If I go to jail... Don't, I stood up abruptly. Don't you dare use them against me again. Ms. Newton, Blaze intervened, his voice professional, perhaps we should reschedule this interview for another time. No, I said. We're not finished. I pulled out a document from my desk drawer. You want a job? Here are my terms. I slid the paper across the desk. My mother picked it up with shaking hands. A full confession? She looked up, confused. You want me to publicly admit to stealing your formula? And transfer all patent rights back to me, I added. In exchange, Belle Beauty will absorb Newton Natural's debt, and you'll get an entry-level position in our R&D department, under supervision, of course. She stared at the document, then at me. You'd do that? Take on all that debt? Not for you, I said coldly. For the employees you left jobless, for the vendors you couldn't pay, for Sienna and River. My mother's shoulders sagged. For the first time, I saw her as she really was. Not the powerful businesswoman I'd grown up fearing and admiring, but a desperate mother who'd made a terrible choice. One more thing, I added, pulling out another document. Sign this too. What is it? A contract promising 30% of all future royalties from the original formula to a new foundation. It'll help other entrepreneurs who've had their innovations stolen. She picked up the pen, then hesitated. Will you ever forgive me? The question hung in the air between us. Outside my office window, the sun was setting over the city, casting long shadows across the floor. I don't know, I answered honestly, but signing these is a start. She nodded and began to sign. Each scratch of the pen felt like the closing of a chapter, the beginning of something new. As she finished, my phone buzzed, another text from Sienna. Mom missed her interview. She's not answering her phone. I'm worried. I looked at my mother, still bent over the documents, and typed back, "She's with me. Everything's going to be different now." Different, yes. But better? That remained to be seen. As I watched my mother sign away the last of her power over me, I felt something unexpected. Not triumph, but a heavy sadness for everything we'd lost along the way. "Tell me why," I said, pushing a cup of coffee across my desk. The signed documents lay between us, but I needed more than just her signature. I needed answers. My mother wrapped her hands around the cup, as if seeking warmth. "Where should I start?" "The day you stole my formula. What really happened?" She took a shaky breath. That morning, I'd received a call from Sienna's hospital. She'd tried to leave Marcus again, and She closed her eyes. The doctors said she needed surgery. Insurance wouldn't cover it. What? I sat up straighter. Sienna never told me about any surgery. Because I made her promise not to. You were so focused on your work, so excited about your breakthrough. And then... She pulled out her phone, scrolling through old messages. This came. She handed me the phone. It was an email from a loan shark, threatening to expose River's gambling debts. The amount made me feel sick. The company was already failing, she continued. Your father's bad investments, the market crash. I had nothing left to give them. Then you showed me your formula. So you stole it? I said. But the anger in my voice had dulled. I thought I could save everyone. The formula would revive the company. I could pay off River's debts, cover Sienna's medical bills. She laughed bitterly. Instead, I lost everything, including you. A knock interrupted us. Ingrid entered with a stack of files. Sorry, but you need to see these. The FDA reports from Newton Naturals last year. I flipped through the pages, my eyes widening. Mom, these preservation systems, they're completely different from my original formula. What were you doing? Trying to protect you, she whispered. I couldn't use your exact formula. It would have been too obvious. So I tried to develop variations. Failed variations, obviously. But the patent... I never manufactured your exact formula, not once. I couldn't do that to you, not completely. Ingrid cleared her throat. There's more. The bankruptcy files show regular payments to a women's shelter in Phoenix. Large payments. My mother's face reddened. That's where Sienna stayed, after she finally left Marcus. They helped her disappear, start over. The pieces were falling into place. Every cruel decision, every betrayal, they all led back to my siblings, to protecting them. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded. I could have helped. You were 23, Melina, building your dreams. I couldn't put that weight on you. So you crushed my dreams instead? I thought you were strong enough to rebuild. I knew you were stronger than me. She reached across the desk, almost touching my hand before pulling back. Look what you've created. You did this all on your own. No thanks to you, I said, but the words lacked their previous venom. My phone buzzed. Sienna again. Mom told me you know everything now. I'm so sorry I kept secrets from you. Can we talk? Before I could respond, River burst into my office. Mel, I just got the call from the bank. They're foreclosing on Mom's house next week. My mother stood up. River, I told you not to... Sit down, I cut her off. Both of you. I pressed the intercom. Blaze, Ingrid, get in here. We need to talk strategy. Strategy? My mother looked confused. Yes. If Belle Beauty is absorbing Newton Naturals' debt, we're doing it right. I pulled up our financial projections. We'll need to restructure the deal, create a subsidiary for the original product line. You're still going through with it? River asked, even after everything? I looked at my mother, seeing for the first time the weight she'd carried alone. Yes, but with conditions. Over the next hour, we hammered out the details. The house would be sold, but Belle Beauty would provide temporary housing. My mother would work in R&D, but under strict supervision. River would enter a gambling rehabilitation program, and Sienna... Call your sister, I told River. Tell her to come home. We'll figure this out together. As the others filed out of my office, my mother lingered. Why are you really doing this? I thought about the young woman I'd been, working in my garage, desperate for approval. About the CEO I'd become, driven by revenge. Neither version of me had the full picture. Because that's what family does, I finally said. We rebuild, even when it's hard, even when it hurts. She nodded, tears in her eyes. I don't deserve a second chance. No, I agreed, but Sienna and River deserve a mother. And I paused, surprising myself with the truth of my next words. I deserve to let go of this anger. As she left my office, I looked at the family photo still hidden in my desk drawer. Maybe it was time to bring it back out. Not because everything was fixed, it wasn't. But because sometimes moving forward means facing the past, with all its messy, complicated truths. You're making a mistake, Blaze said, pacing my office the next morning. The board won't like this. Taking on Newton Naturals debt? Hiring your mother? It's too risky. I rubbed my temples, fighting a growing headache. The board doesn't have to like it. They just have to accept it. And what about the press? Ingrid chimed in from the couch. Once this goes public, it'll be a circus. CEO hires mother who stole her formula isn't exactly a flattering headline. Actually, I turned my laptop around. I have an idea about that. They leaned in to read the draft press release I'd written. Ingrid's eyes widened. A foundation for victims of intellectual property theft? Using the royalties from your original formula? She shook her head. It's brilliant, but what? But it means going public with everything, Blaze finished. The theft, the betrayal, all of it. My phone buzzed. Sienna. Just landed. Coming straight to your office. Hope you're ready for this. Ready or not, I muttered, just as my office door opened. Sienna looked different from the last time I'd seen her. Stronger. Her hair was shorter, and she carried herself with a confidence I didn't recognize. Hey sis, she said softly. We need to talk. Blaze and Ingrid took the hint and left, closing the door behind them. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded the moment we were alone. About Marcus, about the hospital. The same reason you never told me how you really started Belle Beauty. She sat down across from me. Pride. Shame. Pick one. I could have helped. Like Mom tried to help? Sienna's voice was gentle but firm. Sometimes help isn't what we need. Sometimes we need to fight our own battles. Before I could respond, my assistant buzzed in. Ms. Bell, the legal team is here with the patent transfer documents. Send them in. 3 lawyers entered, carrying stacks of paperwork. Behind them came my mother, looking smaller than she had yesterday. Everything's in order, the head lawyer said, spreading documents across my desk. Once these are signed, the original formula's patent rights will transfer back to you, and the debt restructuring can begin. I picked up a pen, then hesitated. Wait, Sienna should see this first. I handed her the press release draft. She read it slowly, her expression changing from confusion to understanding. A foundation? She looked up. You're going to help other people who've been through this? With Mom's help, I said, watching my mother's reaction. That's part of the deal. She'll serve on the board, share her story, show people there's a way to make things right. It won't be easy, my mother said quietly. Going public with what I did. None of this is easy, I replied. But maybe that's the point. Sienna reached for my hand. You know this means everyone will know our family's dirty laundry, right? All of it. People love a redemption story, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. And maybe someone else needs to hear it. The lawyers shifted impatiently as we sat in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. Finally, my mother spoke. I'll do it, she said firmly. All of it. The confession, the foundation work, everything. It's time I owned my mistakes publicly. I picked up the pen again, but Sienna stopped me. Before you sign, she pulled out her phone. There's something you need to see. She pulled up a video and handed it to me. It was from 5 years ago, security footage from Newton Natural's old office. I watched as my mother argued with someone, getting increasingly upset. Turn up the volume, I said. Won't steal my daughter's work. My mother's voice crackled through the speaker. Find another way. The man in the video stepped closer, threatening. Either you patent it, or we'll take everything. The house, the company, everything your kids have. Your choice. I looked up at my mother. Who was he? Your father's old business partner, she said quietly. He found out about your formula, knew it could save the company. When I refused to steal it, he threatened to expose River's gambling debts to the police. Said he'd make sure Sienna never escaped Marcus. Why didn't you tell me this yesterday? Because it doesn't excuse what I did. I still made the choice. I still betrayed you. I sat back, letting this new information sink in. The lawyers continued to shuffle papers, waiting. Sign it, Sienna said suddenly. Sign it, but change the Foundation's mission. Make it about helping families trapped in impossible choices, about finding better ways out. I looked at my mother, then at the papers before me. 5 years of anger and revenge had led me here, but maybe this wasn't an ending. Maybe it was a beginning. Okay, I said, picking up the pen one final time. Let's rewrite this story, all of it. The board is ready for you, Blaze announced, poking his head into my office. And they don't look happy. I straightened my jacket and gathered my presentation materials. They're not supposed to be happy. They're supposed to listen. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. 12 stern faces stared back at me, their disapproval practically radiating across the polished table. Ms. Bell, Marcus Stewart, the head of the board, spoke first. Would you care to explain why you've committed our company to millions in debt without board approval? I connected my laptop to the projector. Actually, I'd like someone else to explain first. The door opened, and my mother walked in. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. They recognized her from industry events. This is Juliana Newton, I said, though the introduction was unnecessary. Former CEO of Newton Naturals, and the woman who stole my original formula. Melina, Marcus interrupted, we all know this story. It's precisely why we're concerned about— No, I cut him off. You don't know the whole story, Mom? My mother stepped forward, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. 5 years ago, I was blackmailed into stealing my daughter's formula. I made a choice that destroyed my family and nearly destroyed 2 companies. Today, I'm here to help make it right. I clicked to the first slide. Projected revenues from the relaunch of my original formula under Bell Beauty. The patent transfer is complete, I continued. We now own full rights to a formula that generated over $50 million in revenue for Newton Naturals before quality control issues destroyed their reputation. Issues that occurred because they couldn't properly replicate your work, Blaze added from the back of the room. Exactly. I clicked to the next slide. By absorbing Newton Naturals' debt, we also acquire their manufacturing facilities at pennies on the dollar. Facilities specifically designed for natural preservation systems. The board members leaned forward, interest replacing skepticism. But that's not why you're here, Marcus said. Tell us about this foundation. I took a deep breath. Sienna, your turn. My sister entered, carrying a tablet. She looked each board member in the eye as she spoke. 3 years ago, I was trapped in an abusive marriage. My mother made desperate choices trying to help me escape. Today, I run a support network for domestic violence survivors. She tapped her tablet, and new figures appeared on the screen. And I can tell you firsthand how many women stay in dangerous situations because they lack financial resources. The Bell Beauty Foundation, I continued, will provide grants and support to entrepreneurs facing impossible choices. People forced to choose between their innovations and their families, between their dreams and their safety. It's a PR goldmine, Ingrid chimed in, right on cue. We've already had interest from major media outlets. The story of betrayal, redemption, and giving back? It's marketing you can't buy. And what about her? Marcus pointed at my mother. You expect us to trust her in our R&D department? No, I said firmly. I expect you to trust me, the same way you did when I built this company from nothing, the same way you did when I promised our organic preservation system would revolutionize the industry. The room fell silent. I clicked to the final slide. Projected 5-year growth with the new initiative. We're not just acquiring patents and facilities, I said. We're not just generating positive PR. We're doing what Belle Beauty has always done. We're turning pain into power. We're showing that success and ethics aren't mutually exclusive. My phone buzzed. A text from River. At my first GA meeting. Proud of you, sis. I smiled slightly, then addressed the board again. The vote is yours. But remember, this isn't just about business. It's about who we want to be as a company. Marcus leaned back, studying me carefully. And who do you want us to be, Ms. Bell? The company that proves revenge isn't the only way to win. I met his gaze steadily. The company that shows sometimes the best revenge is helping others avoid your pain. The board members exchanged glances. Marcus cleared his throat. All in favor? Hands began to rise. 8, 9, 10. Motion carries, Marcus announced. God help us all. As the board filed out, my mother approached me. That was terrifying, I supplied. Incredible, she corrected. You've become everything I always wanted to be. No, I said, gathering my materials. I've become who I needed to be, for myself. Blaze waited until we were alone to speak. You know this is just the beginning, right? The press will be brutal. Competitors will try to use this against us. Let them try. I looked out the boardroom window at the city below. Some things are worth the risk. My phone buzzed again. Sienna. Mom's crying in the bathroom. Happy tears. Should I get her? Yes, I texted back. Tell her we have work to do. Because that's what healing looks like sometimes. Not grand gestures or perfect solutions, but small steps forward, doing the work, one day at a time. We're live in 2 minutes, the producer announced, adjusting my microphone. Remember, just tell your story naturally. I glanced across the television studio to where my mother sat, similarly wired for sound. This would be our first public appearance together, a primetime interview about the Belle Beauty Foundation launch. Are you sure about this? Sienna whispered from her seat in the audience. Once it airs? No turning back, I finished. That's the point. The lights brightened, and the host, Amanda Torres, took her seat. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have an extraordinary story of betrayal, redemption, and the unexpected power of forgiveness. The cameras rolled. My palms were sweating, but my voice remained steady as I recounted the story of my stolen formula. When I finished, Amanda turned to my mother. Juliana, what made you decide to come clean after all these years? My mother's hands twisted in her lap. Watching my daughter succeed despite what I did to her, seeing her build something beautiful from something terrible, it made me realize I had a choice. Keep hiding in shame, or try to create something meaningful from my mistakes. And that's where the foundation comes in? Amanda prompted. Yes, I jumped in. But it's evolved into something bigger than just intellectual property theft. I nodded to Sienna, who joined us on stage. Our foundation focuses on families trapped in impossible situations, Sienna explained. Whether it's domestic violence, addiction, or financial exploitation, we provide resources and support to help people find better solutions than the ones my mother felt forced to choose. Speaking of choices, Amanda said, I understand you have a surprise announcement? I took a deep breath. Yes. Belle Beauty is launching a new line of products. The proceeds will go entirely to the foundation and... I looked at my mother. The line will be called Second Chances. The audience applauded. My mother's eyes filled with tears. And who will be developing these products? Amanda asked, though she knew the answer. I will, my mother said, under my daughter's supervision, using her original preservation system, legally, this time. The interview continued, but my attention was drawn to the side stage where River had just arrived. He gave me a thumbs up, his 6-month sobriety chip glinting on his keychain. After the interview, we gathered in the green room. Blaze and Ingrid were already there, monitoring social media reactions. It's blowing up, Ingrid reported. The foundation's website crashed from too many visitors. People are sharing their own stories of family betrayal and redemption. And the stock? I asked. Blaze grinned. Up 12% and climbing. Turns out honesty really is good for business. My mother cleared her throat. There's something else we need to discuss. She pulled out a folder. Your father's old business partner reached out. The room went silent. Sienna moved closer to me. He wants to make a deal, my mother continued. Says he has evidence that could implicate himself in the patent theft. He's offering to confess in exchange for immunity. He's scared, River said. He saw the interview and knows we're going public with everything. I took the folder, studying the man's proposal. Send it to legal, but tell him we'll only consider it if he agrees to work with the foundation. Share his story, help other businesses avoid the same mistakes. You'd give him a second chance? Sienna asked. After everything? Isn't that what we're all about now? I looked around the room at my family, broken, healing, but together. Besides, his confession could help other victims of intellectual property theft prove their cases. My mother touched my arm hesitantly. When did you become so wise? When I stopped letting anger make my decisions. I smiled. I had a good teacher in what not to do. She laughed, a real laugh that reminded me of better days. The student has definitely surpassed the teacher. Speaking of students, River interrupted, the foundation received its first grant application. A young chemist whose research was stolen by her mentor. She's looking for funding to start over. Send it to my office, I said. Mom and I will review it together. Blaze raised an eyebrow. Together? Yes, I nodded. Who better to evaluate her case than someone who's been on both sides? As we left the studio, reporters called out questions about the foundation, about family redemption, about second chances. But for once, I didn't feel the need to answer. Our actions would speak louder than any words could. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Board meeting tomorrow. Bring your mother. We need to discuss expansion plans for second chances. I showed the message to my mother. She squared her shoulders, ready to face whatever came next. Not as the woman who had betrayed me, but as someone working to make amends, to make a difference. Ready? I asked. Ready, she replied, though I don't deserve all this. Maybe that's the point of second chances, I said. They're not about deserving, they're about what we do with them. And now, presenting our first Belle Beauty Foundation grant recipient, I announced to the packed auditorium, Sarah Martinez. A young woman approached the podium, clutching her business plan. Her hands shook as she adjusted the microphone, but her voice rang clear. 6 months ago, I thought my career was over when my research advisor stole my work, she began. Today, thanks to the foundation, I'm launching my own company. From my seat on stage, I watched my mother in the front row, nodding encouragingly at Sarah. Next to her, Sienna was live streaming the event for the foundation's social media channels, while River handled the incoming donation notifications on his tablet. The grant isn't just money, Sarah continued. It's mentorship, legal support, a community that understands. She looked directly at me. And people who prove there's life after betrayal. After the ceremony, we gathered in my office. The space had changed, family photos now mixed with business awards, and my mother's research notes shared desk space with my own. 4 more applications came in during the ceremony, River reported, scrolling through his tablet. And that business partner of Dad's? His confession video got 500,000 views. People love a redemption story, Sienna said, but her eyes were on our mother, who was reviewing formulations with Sarah. No, see here? My mother pointed to a molecular diagram. If you adjust the binding agent, you'll get better stability without compromising the natural ingredients. Mom, I called out. Show her the preservation test we developed. She looked up, surprised. You want me to share that? It's time. That's what the foundation is about, isn't it? Sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it? As they bent over the lab reports together, Blaze entered with Ingrid. The Second Chances line pre-orders just hit 1 million units, Ingrid announced. And the waitlist for foundation mentorship is growing. Speaking of mentorship, Blaze added, the board approved your proposal. We're opening the Innovation Lab next month. My mother's head snapped up. Really? They're going to let me run it? Co-run it, I corrected. With me. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. My mother and I working together again, but this time as equals. Are you sure? She asked softly. Before I could answer, Sarah spoke up. Can I say something? She turned to face us all. When I first applied for the grant, I was angry, hurt. I wanted revenge. But watching you two rebuild your relationship while building something bigger than yourselves, it showed me another way. Sienna wiped a tear. Look what you've created, Mel. Not just a company or a foundation, but hope. We created, I corrected, looking at my mother. All of us. River's tablet chimed. Another confession video just dropped. Some CEO admitting he stole his daughter's software design. Says our story inspired him to come clean. Good, my mother said firmly. Let them all come clean. Let them see there's a better way. About that, Ingrid pulled up a presentation on her tablet. We've had inquiries from other companies wanting to create similar programs. They're asking for our framework. I smiled. Share it. All of it. Let's make this bigger than Belle Beauty. Bigger than revenge, my mother added. Bigger than betrayal, Sienna agreed. Sarah gathered her materials, pausing at the door. Thank you. Not just for the grant, but for showing me that success is the best revenge. No, I said, watching her go. Healing is the best revenge. Success is just a bonus. Later, as the office emptied, my mother lingered. I found this in my old files, she said, placing a worn notebook on my desk. Your original formula notes. I kept them all these years. I opened the notebook, recognizing my excited scribbles, the late-night calculations, the dreams of a younger me. I thought I needed this to remind me of my shame, she continued. Now I think it should go in the Foundation's library. Show others where we started, how far we've come. How far we'll go, I added, standing to hug her. My phone buzzed, a message from Marcus. Board wants to fast-track the international expansion. Your mother's innovations are game changers. Don't let her go this time. I showed her the message. Ready to change the world, Mom? Together this time, she said firmly. As we left the office, I glanced at the Foundation's mission statement mounted on the wall. Turning betrayal into breakthrough, pain into power, endings into beginnings. Below it hung a new photo, my mother and me in the lab, heads bent together over a microscope, both of us smiling. Not the smile of revenge achieved, but of something far more powerful. Redemption earned, trust rebuilt, love restored. Come on, I said, holding the door. We've got work to do. And this time, we do it right. Together.